40% of all food is wasted. That is $161 billion worth of food and 133 billion pounds. And the fact is, more than half of that comes from our home kitchens. So today we're gonna be talking about different ways you can revive stale food. Now, some people actually like stale food, so let me know if you actually enjoy the taste of stale food in the comment section down below. We're gonna revive stale cookies, stale chips, stale crackers, rock hard brown sugar, stale nuts, as well as bread, which I don't have featured here, which is one of the most thrown out items in people's home kitchens. It's estimated 1 billion pounds of bread is wasted every single year. And just because it's rock hard and not very tasty anymore doesn't mean that you can't utilize it in your own kitchen. I'm Katherine Kellogg from Going Zero Waste. This is Nala, and she's always very interested in what's happening in this kitchen. And this video is sponsored by the Paper and Packaging Board. They are one of my favorite long-term sponsors. And today we'll be showing you how you can make better decisions for the planet by reducing your food waste and choosing ingredients that come in compostable and recyclable paper packaging. One of my favorite ways to reduce waste is to make sure I eat my porch pumpkin. A lot of people don't know, but the porch pumpkins are edible. They're grown for size, not necessarily for flavor, but I have still found my pumpkin to be really quite flavorful. And I use this to make my mom's famous pumpkin bread recipe. I have this on a recipe card. I love my little recipe box that I can get out with all of my family heirloom recipes in it. And it is going to use not one, but 2 different stale foods. So I want to talk about this absolute rock hard brown sugar. If you don't bake very often, your brown sugar might just become so hard. Gotta get a better visual. See? This is the visual. Okay, rock hard. I'm gonna tell you how to solve this. All you need is a swatch of cloth. You're gonna run it under the sink, you're gonna place it on top of your bowl, and you're gonna microwave this in 30-second increments. Then you're gonna have soft brown sugar that you can use for your recipe. Now make sure you store it in an airtight container after this. It probably will reharden, so you'll just have to keep doing this until you finish it up. Now, if it's starting to harden even pretty immediately after trying this microwave hack, you might want to consider turning your brown sugar into something like a simple syrup that you can use in your coffee each morning, or you could also make a caramel. I decided to make one to use as a topping for my pumpkin bread, in addition to the next stale food we're going to revive. The second thing we're gonna tackle is these stale nuts. They got left out, so they're kind of chewy rather than crunchy. And this hack works for chips, cookies, crackers. You're gonna put this into your oven at 0 degrees. Then you're gonna preheat to 350. While your oven is preheating, all of that energy is going to help suck out some of that moisture and is going to leave you with perfectly good tortilla chips, crackers, even limp stale cookies. One of the things I have always liked about baking is it is a wonderful way to reduce plastic packaging in your life. So many of the baking essentials come in paper, like flour bags, sugar bags, baking soda boxes, and all of this can be recycled. Just make sure that you tap out any excess food waste so that the paper stays clean. I am using that rock hard brown sugar here, and you can see it is working so much better. If you've seen my Pretty Famous Things I Don't Buy Anymore series, you know that I no longer buy aluminum foil or plastic wrap. And in fact, the only kitchen consumable item that I still buy is parchment paper. Sometimes when I'm baking, things can get really sticky, and I want to make sure that none of my food goes to waste. So using parchment paper, the one I use is compostable and is FSC certified, so I know that it comes from a responsibly managed forest. I have a whole forest tour that I did earlier this year that I'll link in the description. I also use parchment paper as cupcake liners in a pinch, especially if I'm going to be taking my bakes somewhere like to the theater. You'll see me use that for some white chocolate pumpkin mousse tarts later in this video. Now we're using that caramel drizzle on top of this pumpkin bread, and I'm using those toasted nuts. You can find this full recipe down in the caption.
Everything with caramel needs a little bit of salt.
And if you make it, you have to tag me on Instagram. My mom will be so happy to know that her recipe is being enjoyed by other people. Next time you have people coming over, you want to make a little snack board, you pull out your crackers, you realize they've been exposed to the air, they've gone super stale. Pop these in the oven, rebake them, and I promise you, no one is ever even going to know. Now let's say that you just had a big party, you have a bunch of cracker boxes left over. One of my favorite way to use all these odds and ends of crackers is to create the most delicious crumb for tofu.
Birthday party, and I'm left with a bunch of basically empty cracker boxes. So many boxes. I'm gonna make a really yummy crust with some fried tofu. Oh, this is the best part! Take out all of your frustration.
You don't have to punch the bag. You can also use a blender or rolling pin.
That's looking lovely.
Things are about to get a little messy, but I have assembled the dredging station.
Slice up some firm tofu and dust it in some seasoned flour. Coat it with some almond milk and then drop it into your cracker crumbs.
Don't they look so good?
Now I like to pan fry them, and all of those cracker crumbs are going to become so crispy. Now make sure you season your flour because that is a really, really important step. Then you'll get the mix of all of the flavors with the different crackers. I promise you, you are going to love this recipe.
Chicken fried tofu at its best.
When I have stale tortilla chips, I use that preheating oven hack, and then I often like to make nachos. But of course, you could also blend these and use these as a casserole topper. This would work with potato chips, this would work with tortilla chips, and honestly, it would even work with crackers. When it comes to stale bread, you want to run it under running water for about 30 seconds. Tap off any of the excess and then throw that into the microwave or into the oven. It's going to steam, and then it's going to have a much nicer texture that you can actually cut, rip, or break through. Now, as it starts to cool, it is going to start to harden back up. So one of the best things you can do is lean into the fact that the bread is a little bit more, hardy, and then turn it into something like seasoned breadcrumbs or into croutons. I personally prefer croutons in my soup, and I love some toasted breadcrumbs on top of a salad. Oh, it is so, so good because you get a little crunch in every single bite. When doing theater, there always seem to be snacks left out in the green room, and I cannot tell you how many bags of incredibly stale cookies I have found and have saved. If you find yourself with a bag of open cookies, I gotta tell you, the best thing you can make with them is pie crust. This has to be one of the easiest recipes to make, and it is a showstopper. So if you need something quick to whip up this holiday season, I would like to petition you to try this out. Use a little bit of compostable parchment paper to make muffin liners. Press down your crust, which is made with 2 simple ingredients, stale cookies and melted butter.
I'll let these set up in the fridge for about an hour.
I used ginger snap cookies, and then I blended pumpkin puree with white chocolate. And you're left with this sinfully good white chocolate pumpkin mousse ginger spice tart. Add just a little bit of flaky sea salt on top, and I promise your guest will love this.
This is not safe to eat in costume.
Forks are recommended, I will say. But I think they look so stinking cute. What do you think? Today we have saved bread, cookies, crackers, chips. I would love to know what recipe you're most excited about creating in your own home. And if there's a stale food waste hack you have, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Reducing food waste is just one way that we can have a more sustainable kitchen. I also try and make sure I'm being really material mindful when I'm shopping. I choose ingredients that are packaged in paper because this comes from renewable resources. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.